Okay, so you've built this nice, big, beautiful pole barn, and you want it to last for years, if not, hopefully the rest of your life. So there's a few things that you need to do to make sure that happens, especially when you're using metal or steel trusses like we have. This last board on the end of your trusses is exposed. It's not completely exposed to all the weather, but it's exposed to enough weather that over the years it'll create rot. And if you're like us and most people that build pole barns, you use regular lumber, pine lumber on that, pine 2x6s. Now I could have purchased pressure treated 2x6s to do this outside board, but whenever I was building this, I got these pieces so cheap because it was before the pandemic when I ordered all my lumber. I just used these, so I didn't go back and use pressure treated on this, but we can still protect it. It can still last the rest of our life. There's several ways you can do that. You can have your metal roofer, the manufacturer of your roofer, you can have them make a custom piece for this and screw it on, and that works fine. Or you can buy some metal aluminum flashing at Lowe's, Home Depot, at hardware store. You can use that on it and cut it to fit and mount it on there. That works great too. Or you can use leftover metal that you have laying around from your build. You can cut those into 6-inch wide pieces or 5.5-inch wide pieces, and you can cover that and that'll protect it. But what I like to do, especially what I'm going to do on our barn, is I'm going to use this Cabot's water sealer. This is a water sealer and stain. It's a solid, so you can't see through it, and it's gray color. I buy these at Lowe's or Home Depot. Anytime I'm around a Lowe's or Home Depot, I go into their paint section and I look at their mist tinted paint. And anytime I find any kind of water sealer, I can usually pick it up between $5 and $10 a gallon. Now this stuff is normally around $30 to $40 a gallon, so if I can pick it up for $5 or $10 a gallon, I don't really care what color it is. So what I like to do is I like to go ahead and put a couple coats of the sealer on it, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do something else to protect this even further. But I'll show you that here in just a few minutes. So right now I'm going to go ahead and start sealing this and get the whole 2x6 along this end. This is the north end of our barn. I'm going to go ahead and get it sealed real quick. So no matter what method you choose to preserve your end boards, whether you choose flashing or have something custom made or use old metal or just seal it with water sealer and stain, don't forget about the ends of your boards right here. This is the most exposed of the entire length of your barn. Is going to be this end, and this end will rot on you. So you need to protect it somehow, either with a piece of aluminum flashing, a piece of aluminum, seal it real good with water sealer. Your rake doesn't cover all the way down on this end board. This is the piece of rake that goes up over the roof line, and it only comes down about 4.5 to 5 inches. So it doesn't cover all the way down on your 2x6 on the end of your pole barn. So make sure you protect this somehow. As soon as you get your pole barn built, or as soon as possible, go ahead and get something on it. You can see this one I've left exposed for a while, so it's already weathered and turned gray. So you just don't want to forget about your ends, and by protecting these ends, it'll make your pole barn last a lot longer. What I do on my ends is I'll take this screw out right here, and I'll cut a piece I'll seal it first with water sealer, and then I cut a small piece of flashing to go on the end of it, just like a cap, kind of like on a fence post. And then the water sealer helps protect it, and then the aluminum flashing also helps protect it. So don't forget about the ends, because that will rot on you, and that'll rot in just about 2 or 3 years too. So make sure you don't forget about that. All right, so let's go ahead and protect the end board. Now you have 4 of these, 1 on each side. On each lengthways, 1 on each corner. There should be 4 of them if you're using metal trusses or steel trusses. So I've already taken the screw out of the rake. That way I can get my small paintbrush under there and get some of this sealer under it. So we'll go ahead and seal it first. And you want to put a good coat of seal on it. I went 2 or 3 inches down that side, and I'm going to do the same on the back side. All right, Now we'll let that set and dry for a few minutes. And then I have a piece of metal flashing here. We'll slide this in up under the rake, put the screw back in the rake, and then that'll be protected for years, and it should last for a long time. Now, about 4 or 5 years from now, I'll come back up here with a ladder and I'll check it just to make sure. But usually when you put a piece of flashing on it, if you seal it with a good quality water sealer and then put a piece of flashing on it, it's good for many, many years. Okay, we gave our sealer a little bit of time to dry. Now it's time to go ahead and put our piece of flashing on. I'll just slide this in underneath, and then I let it stick down about 1/4 inch below that. So you hold it in place and put your screw back in from your rake. That shouldn't go anywhere. So that's going to protect this in now for many years to come. Well, we have our 2x6 sealed all the way down the whole length of the barn. It didn't take too long. I used a good quality 3-inch brush and sealed just one coat, good thick coat on it all the way down. It took me about 30 to 40 minutes to do that. So now it's time for the second step of the process. And what we have here is, this is just a 1x6, just like this. It's a pressure treated 1x6. I just take and measure 1 7/8 inches up from this side and 1 7/8 inches from this side. Make a mark, chalk a line, and either cut it with your skill saw or cut it with a table saw. And it gives you 3 10-foot pieces, roughly 1 7/8 inches long, because the width of your blade takes out some of the wood. So if you measure 1 7/8 inches from the top and 1 7/8 inches from the bottom of the 2x6, you end up with about 1 7/8 inches piece in the middle. And you can use these. That'll give you, for a 60-foot barn like this one, I just had to use 2 1x6s, pressure treated 1x6s. Now you may be asking, why did I rip a 1x6 down this size? And it's because this 2x6 is not sitting plumb with the ground. This 2x6 is the last one on the end of these steel trusses, and they sit at an angle so that way your roof is completely flat. When you put your metal down, the edge of the 2x6 is flat to the metal. So that means the bottom of this 2x6 is angled in. So by using this 1x on the bottom, and I'll show you how we're going to do that right here in just a minute, and then putting the facial board on, the 1x6 pressure treated facial board, that makes this 1x6 pressure treated facial board pretty much plumb. It's going to be a little bit off, but it's pretty close. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to screw this 1x that we ripped down, these 1 7/8 pieces, we're going to screw them on with a 2-inch decking screw. So it's a weather screw, so that way the weather doesn't bother it at all. And we'll screw it, and plus this head will be flush, so that way when we put our facial board on, we won't have a screw head sticking out for it to hit. So let's go ahead, we'll go ahead and get this one on, and the only thing I'm going to do is line it up with the bottom of this 2x6. This should be level all the way down through here, so I'm not going to take a level to it. And then what we'll do is we'll start our facial board all the way out against our rake on the other end. Because what I'm wanting to do is, once I get the facial board on, then I'm going to be mounting gutter on this. And then we'll be putting a downspout going to a 500-gallon water tank. So I want to get this on and get the guttering on. It's supposed to rain day after tomorrow, so I'm hoping to get all this done and at least get part of the gutter on and the downspout to where I can go ahead and start catching rain in our 500-gallon tank. So let's go ahead and put this on real quick. But like I said, I'm just going to line it up with the bottom of the 2x6. Now, I put that one flush on that end. I don't know if you could tell, but I was using my foot on the other end to keep this board roughly at the bottom of the 2x6. I've pre-drilled all the holes in this also, because when you rip these boards down and you go to drive a screw through them, sometimes it'll split them. So it's a good idea to pre-drill them. I pre-drilled this 1x6 also. Anything less than a 2-inch board, I usually try to pre-drill it before I put a screw in it. Okay, that has the 1x on there, so we'll take the 10-foot 1x6, and I've pre-drilled it. On the ends, I put one at the top and the bottom, and then I just went up and down, pre-drilling holes all the way down through here, about every foot to 18 inches. And we'll do the same thing with this. I'll try to get one screw in part of the way down. Now this time I'm not going to use the 2-inch screws on the bottom of it. On the bottom I'm going to use a 3-inch screw, but I am going to use a 2-inch screw on the top. Okay, that has our facial board on. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but it's not exactly plumb, but it's a lot better having that 1-inch board to kick that out a little bit. Plus that protects that 2x6. Even though we put a coating of seal coat on it, we've sealed it, we put water sealer on it, this is going to keep the moisture, the weather, the snow, and the ice off of that board, so it's going to help protect it. And now this gives us a good plumb surface to mount our gutters to. One thing you need to remember though, if you're going to put gutters on your pole barn, whether you use wood trusses or whether you use steel trusses, if you're going to put a facial board on, make sure you add that extra inch onto your metal for that facial board. So if you want an inch hanging over into your gutter and you're going to put a 1-inch board on it, you need to make sure you add 2 inches to your roofing metal, at least 2 inches to it. So you can see here I have a little over an inch left. So if you enjoyed this video, then you're really going to enjoy the video of us building this pole barn. I'll put a link right up here at the top and down in the description. We have 3 different parts, part 1, part 2, and part 3 of us building this pole barn. A lot of it is time-lapse, but some of it isn't. So I'll put the links to those in case you want to go watch those. If you've enjoyed this, then you'll definitely enjoy those. And again, thanks for watching.